to Changing the Sales Game on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. I'm happy that you're here. Now, I hope as you listen to the show, you have to feel my passion about this word sales, that people hear it. And I think we get a knot in our stomach of I have to pitch or I have to push something on someone. And to me and to my guests, that is the furthest thing from what we think sales is, right? So today, I really hope that between my guests and I, we share some strategies, tips, and ideas that are actionable that you can take and apply immediately after listening to the show, and hopefully make any prospect or client conversations just a smidge easier, right? It's all about practicing and sharing. So hopefully today's show inspires you to make those changes. Now, my motivational quote to just kind of get us our brains in the zone of the topic is by Leo Burnett. And Leo says, make it simple, make it memorable, make it inviting to look at, and make it fun to read. Now, I'm so excited today to speak with my guest, Park Howell, about sales, my favorite topic, and how we can leverage and actually perfect our business story using the three forces of the story, which we're going to talk about today: agreement, contradiction, and consequences of that our primal, pattern-seeking, cause and effect, decision-making, buying brain loves. And we're going to really break that down. Now, pushing your offer is not cool, especially for me. I find it offensive, and it's just icky. So using a framework like Park and I are going to talk about today, that it will help you make sales or make your sales growth easy to accomplish. And again, as actionable as today. That's how good this stuff is. Now, today, Park and I were going to dig in to how heart-centered sales leaders can use ABT and but therefore agile narrative framework to clarify your stories and amplify your impact, as well as simplifying your life. Now, Park is known as the world's most industrious storyteller, having grown purpose-driven brands by as much as 600%. Wow. He is a 35-year veteran of the advertising industry and now consults, teaches, coaches, and speaks internationally to help businesses, sales, and marketing leaders excel through the stories they tell. He's the host of the popular weekly broadcast. Did I say that right? The weekly Business of Story podcast, ranking among the top 10% of downloadable podcasts. Kudos to that. Park published Brand Bewitchery in 2020 to help you use his proven story cycle system to craft spellbinding stories for your brands. And in 2021, he co-authored The Narrative Gym for Business. A huge intro. Please help me welcome Park to the show. I couldn't leave any of it out, Park. I'm sorry.
Hey, Connie, thank you so much. It's such a delight to be here with you today.
Same. And I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about today, because I think salespeople, we get nervous. We're always feeling like we're pitching. And, in my world, if you're not coming from love, care, and respect, you're doing it wrong. And your model is all about honoring that love, care, and respect. You just kind of have it into this framework that I think is super cool and super useful. So let's dive in. The first question is, why is storytelling? Why storytelling? And why now? Has something changed that it has become even more important for us?
The only thing, Connie, that has changed is that there's now attention on storytelling, but it's been around literally since the beginning of time. I mean, you and I and all of your viewers and listeners here, we are Homo sapiens, which you know what that means. We are essentially storytelling apes. We are the only being that we know of that thinks, plans, organizes, and acts in story. So it's been around forever. The only change, I think, has really made it happen, believe it or not, is the advent of the internet and e-commerce, websites, and all of us now being absolutely bombarded with noise and content and nonsense, Yeah. That our limbic brain, this same subconscious brain that our ancestors used to navigate and survive the savannah, this is the exact same brain you and I and everyone else is using to try and navigate and survive this onslaught of communication. So why storytelling and why now? Because of the three forces of the story that we're going to talk about in a minute. enables you as a salesperson to hack through the noise out there and literally hook into the emotional buying brain. And that's why I'm so tickled to be able to share the ABT with you and your audience today.
And it's such a simple framework. Literally, anybody listening can go and apply it as soon, whatever content they're writing, whatever they're working on, an email they're sent, whatever, they can literally apply it as soon as after the show. And I just want to comment on the storytelling. So it's so funny, you know, I'm on podcasts a lot, as you are, and because I have good content too, just like you do, right? So people want us to be on, we have a good energy, enthusiasm, all of that stuff. At the end, the host will say to me, "Wow, you're a great storyteller." And I just giggle and I say, people remember the stories. You could go blah, blah, blah about this topic or this theory or this idea. But as soon as you translate that to a story, people go, "Oh, my friend did that," right? There's this connectivity to the story, the point you're trying to make, and it just fast forwards the whole conversation. And that's what we want to do when we're with our prospect and client, is to build a know, like, trust fast, but also to differentiate ourselves from all the noise and crap that's just out there and is getting spewed, because, you know, it's free to get on Zoom, right? It's free to create a Facebook page or a LinkedIn page. So there's a lot of noise out there. I agree with you on that.
Well, and they always say too, Connie, that content is king. And that might have been true at the very beginning of the internet when there wasn't a lot of content out there. But now there is content everywhere. So I say, if people still profess that content is king, I say storytelling is the kingdom's sorcerer, because it's where the magic happens. And that's why we got to overcome this urge of just putting a bunch of sales content out there and take a deep breath and start using stories. You do less content and have way more impact with just that powerful story.
Yeah. And just as a side, like somebody requested a LinkedIn connection. A lot of my people are on LinkedIn, probably for you too. And there were several people, because now I always look, because people started hitting on me through LinkedIn, which was so annoying to me. Like, I don't have time for this. But anyway, there were several connections. So I accepted. And then today he immediately responded with, "So this is what I do. Do you need my help?" I was like, "Oh my God." So I responded back, "No, thank you." And then he responded back, "Well, do you know anybody?" I was like, block, you're offensive, right? I don't know. You don't know me. You don't know what I need, because we haven't had a conversation. And I don't even know what you do, because I don't care what you do, because there was no story. There was no value to me in receiving that response from him. And that's, I think I think people think, "Well, I got to tell them what I do." No, you don't. Nobody cares what you do. It's how's it going to affect me, right? And I want to go back. You were saying that content is king. That's kind of have been the adage out there in this digital framework, right? Why aren't the longer form or the story structure? You know, I've heard the hero's journey. Why have you found that not to be effective in business like the storytelling is?
Well, the hero's journey is too damn hard. It's too damn complex. That's what I first learned back in the early to mid 2000 aughts. Our son was going to film school at Chapman University, very, very solid film school in Orange, California.
Cool.
He graduated 2010, spent 12 years in Hollywood, and has since moved on to Austin, Texas, where he directs virtual reality films. Anyway, while he was going there, I asked him, I said, "Parker, send me your books and your recorded lectures when you're done with them, since I'm paying for them, because I want to know, what does Hollywood know about storytelling," right? That's where I found the hero's journey, and I got it. And I go, man, this is such an amazing pattern or archetype to storytelling. Why don't we use it in business? And then so I created my 10-step story cycle system based off that for brand, story, strategy development. And at the top of the show, you had mentioned, me as the world's most industrious storyteller. My clients call me that. And I just loved it, so I kept it. But one of the very first customers I ever used it on, Adelante Healthcare out here in Phoenix, Arizona, grew by 600%. So I knew I was onto something, and I started trying to teach the hero's journey to other people so that they could use it too, and they didn't get it. They're like, "Dude, I'm not a screenwriter. I'm a business person. I'm a leader. I'm a sales and marketing person. I don't have time to try to figure out the 12 to 17 steps." Or the Blake Snyder's 15 Steps to Stories, which is another take on the hero's journey. I don't have time for that. It's really powerful, but it's complex. And so through all of my work, Connie, I found the and, but, therefore, these 3 words from my now good friend, Dr. Randy Olson. Dr. Olson is a Harvard PhD evolutionary biologist, gives up tenure, goes to USC, graduates in their film school program, produces 3 documentaries on climate change and global warming, but has written about 7 books now teaching scientists what he learned from story structure in Hollywood so they could communicate their big ideas. All of the work he now does is simply around this and, but, and therefore. I found it in Randy's second book back in 2013 called Connection. And I called him up. I didn't know him. We got to talking, became fast friends. And I said, Randy, this is the DNA of story. And he's like, dude, I'm the Harvard PhD evolutionary biologist. I should have come up with that. So anyways, I used to teach nothing but the hero's journey in my story cycle system. Now, Connie, I start exactly backwards. I go with the simplest, most foundational framework, and that's the and, but, therefore. And Randy and I have been teaching scientists and business leaders this now for over a decade. And we find once you get the ABT down, it builds this narrative intuition, and it will completely revolutionize how you communicate. And what I mean by that, real quick, most of us communicate in a non-narrative way. We and our audiences to death. We bore them because we never get out of act 1 or exposition. And this, and this, and this, and this. The and, but, therefore, you get one and, but then you introduce the problem or the contradiction that you are going to help solve for your customer. And the therefore then becomes your call to action. Here's what we're going to do for you in order for you to get what you want. And the most beautiful thing about the ABT is that it makes you do 2 major paradigm shifts, both of which you've already kind of talked about at the beginning of the show. The first shift is your story is not about you. It's about your audience. You have to place them at the center of the story. The ABT makes you do that. The second paradigm shift is your story is not about what you make, because nobody cares about what you make. They only care about what you make happen in their life. So think of it this way. It's simply outcome over offering. Every single time your audience cares about the outcome, they don't give a crap about your offering. So that's the 2 things the ABT gets you in that mindset, and then sets you up to be successful with your messages because you're using this narrative framework.
Yeah, and it's powerful, because here's the other thing too, Park, and I know you have found this as well. We humans, we're not taught in school, or probably even at home, how to communicate effectively. I think you're a peer of mine. And when I was a little girl, I was told children are to be seen and not heard. First of all, what a horrible thing to say to a kid, right? And at the time it was, the adults are talking, please sit quietly, to teach us how to behave. And then I think the pendulum went the other way, where we allowed our kids opinions about things they shouldn't have opinions about because they were much too young or they didn't have the ability. So I think we're not taught how to speak or how to articulate or how to organize. It's the beginning, middle, and ends. That's how we write a story. But I don't think we're taught how to do the beginning, middle, and end with valuable content. So, and I remember when my kids were little, it's got to be 500 words, and it was all fluff. I'm like, this is garbage. You're not telling me anything about the topic that you have at the top, but you have all this stuff in there because you had to hit the 500 words. So I think we're taught backwards versus really how to communicate. And that's why I love your framework, because it's easy, it's understandable, and it's actionable. And then the more I play with it, the more I perfect it. Now I rewire my brain. And now that I'm communicating from this perspective all the time, right? I'm not even thinking about it anymore. That's when it becomes part of our DNA, using your pun with your friend, but it becomes really part of how we just think and do business and communicate, whether it's personal or professional, but it's how we think to communicate and add value with every conversation. Can you give us an example, Park, of an ABT, maybe an action, so that, again, theory is great. Okay, dude, how do I apply this sucker, right?
Absolutely. So let's give everyone here a quick little overview of the and, but, therefore. It uses the 3 forces of story of agreement, which is act 1. That is your and statement of agreement. And we'll talk about that in just a second.
Okay.
Then you've got contradiction, but here's the problem. And then you have consequence. Therefore, here's what we need to do next. So when you create an ABT, you always want to think about your audience and place them at the center of the story. And you put them right up top as if you're talking to them. You know, as a sales professional, you want to increase sales by 10x. And so I've got you nodding right there, Connie. I see you going, yep. See, that's our statement of agreement. You want to get a vision of agreement with your audience. So as a sales professional, you want to increase revenue by 10x. And if you could just get your arms around storytelling and teach it to your team, then everybody is going to be successful across the enterprise. That's our statement of agreement. Yeah, okay, I get that part. Totally makes sense. But your sales are nowhere near that, because you are leading with logic and reason when what your buyer really wants is the emotional pull of a story. There's your problem and why that's a problem. Therefore, learn how to wield the and, but, therefore framework to hook your audience from the very start, hack through the noise, hook into their emotional hearts, and move them to action using the power of story. That's kind of a long one. I just totally winged that off the top of my head. Let me simplify it even more.
Yeah.
Home Depot. I do a lot of work with the Home Depot folks. And one guy asked me once, Park, what's the shortest ABT you know? And I always love sharing it. It's this: you communicate and care, but bore. Therefore, tell a story. That's as simple as I can think of it. You communicate and care. Yes, you're right, Park. I do care. But unfortunately, you're kind of boring. We all are boring unless we are leading with an emotional story. Therefore, tell a story. The last short one I'll give you for everybody here is the ABT is short and sweet, but tricky. Therefore, you have to practice it. So with that, let me share with you, and I've got my deck opened up here because I got so many to pull from that I can't remember them off the top of my head. So I'm going to read through one for you. And this one is, where is it here? I just saw it the other day. It was for Sharp Electronics. And why can't I find it? It was right here.
And I did give you the power because the thing with I gave you the power if you want to share your screen. People, because I do have a YouTube channel, they could certainly review it, but we're going to have to talk to it for those listening on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, etc. So I'll let you decide how you want to move forward or how you typically do it.
Awesome. So let's do that. I'll be happy to share this with you. And then I also want to, can I share two things with you?
Sure.
So
we just have to talk to it though for the Apple people.
Yep. And this one is going to have audio on it. So okay. I'll make sure that audio is clicked on this end. And I think you're really going to like this. So let me share with you, Connie, two things. Number one, in the sales, branding, marketing world, have you ever heard of Christopher Lochhead? I'm sorry. Let me do one. I want to make sure I got this right. Were you seeing that?
I did. Yeah,
okay.
I could see it. Thank you.
That you can edit this. Okay. So here we go. So Connie, I want to introduce you to Christopher Lochhead if you don't already know him. Nope. He is this legendary Silicon Valley marketer. And he's got one of the greatest books I've ever read on branding and sales is called Play Bigger. Highly recommended to anybody, on your show here. Mm-hmm. Christopher had me on his show about 6 months ago, and I introduced him to the and, but, therefore. Now, this is a guy who makes his living on category design, sales and marketing, that real brand positioning. And he was blown away by the simplicity and the power of the ABT. Here's what he had to say about it. Then I want to show you how he actually used it in a tweet and what happened. Check this out.
Love it.
So you gave me a gift with the ABT. In category design, we have this thing called a POV, a point of view. And it is simply structured very similarly to that of the ABT, which is essentially, and this is such a profound insight, it sounds like it's nothing, just like the ABT. It's so simple, you can't imagine how profound it is. In a point of view, it goes like this. Nobody buys a solution until they have a problem. And so a point of view starts with articulating, framing, naming, and claiming a problem. Well, we can relate to that problem. That then sets up the solution. And when people understand the problem/opportunity, then they become interested in the solution. And then, of course, the third piece from a POV perspective is how your product or service, or your idea for that matter, you might not be actually marketing or selling anything, bridges the gap between the problem/opportunity and therefore the solution. Okay, so with all that said, why do I love the ABT? The ABT takes the thinking that we did around points of view and does a fantastic, legendary double click on it. And says, here is a simple, insanely powerful way to write an instant POV. And that's why the and, but, and therefore model is pure genius. It allows you to relate to people. Then it gives them the but, which tees up the problem. And then the therefore, which points the way to the different future, AKA solution. And so it's pure genius. And it's easily rememberable. And if you start to play with it, as I have since you taught it to me, just like anything else, you develop some prowess with it, it starts working. You're like, wow, it's almost weird how this works.
So here's the funny part in all of this, Connie. The next day, he writes this tweet, and he then takes a screenshot of it and sends it to me. First time he used the ABT ever in his life, and this guy is on social media all the time. Let's read it together. Most entrepreneurs would love to design a new category and build a billion-dollar business. There's his statement of agreement. He's speaking right to you, the entrepreneur. But here's the contradiction. There is so much startup BS on Twitter, it's hard to know who to listen to. Therefore is implied here, but here's his call to action. Meet David Sachs. He knows a few things. And then there's a link over to his podcast.
Love it.
Here's the most amazing thing, Connie. In just under about 6 hours, he had over 60,000 engagements with this tweet. He goes, I have never, ever, ever seen activity like that before. It's the first time I've used the ABT. Wow. Now, if you listen to his amazing podcast, he will start every show with an ABT to set up what is the main problem they're going to be exploring in that show and why should you care from your point of view. So that's just one example. You can use literally the ABT everywhere. You can use it in your email writing, in your social channels, landing pages, sales presentations, anywhere, anytime you need to have your message land right the first time. Yeah. Use an and, but, therefore. Let me show you now one in action. So let's go to Sharp Electronics. About a year, just over a year and a half ago, I don't know how long ago it was now, I was doing a virtual session with them. It's during COVID, so it might have been 2 years now, with 135 of their sales and marketing team. And I was teaching them about the and, but, therefore. And Connie, all I ever have to do, and I'll ask your viewers and listeners to do the same thing, is go to their homepage and go to their landing page and see if it's making the same mistakes that Sharp made on theirs. Let's read it together, and then I'm going to show you what happens when you change it to an and, but, therefore. So their document system, this one landing page, for years, Sharp document products and solutions have been earning high praise and prestigious awards from leading MFP testing organizations. For Sharp, this represents more than just an accumulation of accolades, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to stop right there because
it's quite long for those on Apple. This is a quite long written piece that we're looking at. Okay?
Oh, yeah. And it just goes on and on. Yeah, and it's non-narrative, right? Because you can put an and before every one of those sentences.
Yes.
And it means that industry experts as well as customers recognize that we're remarkable innovation, user-friendly design, outstanding reliability, blah, blah, blah. And. So it's all about them. It's not about you, the reader.
Nope.
It's non-narrative, so you could care less about it, and you're probably not going to get past the first line. Now, watch what happens, and I'll read it to you out there who are not online. All I did is I took it, and I almost reduced it by almost 2/3 of copy, writing it from the audience's point of view. Shorter runs, quicker turnaround times, complete control over your in-house printing. It's what you want. That's our statement of agreement. But your productivity is currently stuck on pause. There's our contradiction that triggers that limbic brain saying, okay, you've opened up this story loop. You've built tension with your but. Now you've got to close it for me because I got to know how this thing ends. Therefore, Sharp digital MFPs and copier printers will have you printing like a pro with our industry-leading innovation. user-friendly design, and boundless expandability. So we're able to get back in there, their qualifiers and their descriptors and whatever, but it doesn't come till the end. You don't start talking about yourself as you are the mentor or guide in this story, and your hero in this story, the protagonist, is always your customer. So that statement of agreement, you need to demonstrate to them that you understand who they are and appreciate what they want and why that's important to them relative to your offering. But now you have to demonstrate your empathy, that you understand why they don't have it and what gap or barrier they need to overcome in order to get it. Therefore, that's how you are uniquely positioned to help them get it through your particular product, service offering. So does that make sense?
It really does. And I thank you for showing this. So everybody listening, you heard it. I highly recommend going to the YouTube channel. The links are always in the show notes, and look at that, pause it so that you could start to take the template to understand and use it for whatever, if you're doing a post, a LinkedIn, starting at a LinkedIn article, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. I really do think this is one of those episodes where the YouTube makes a difference. So hopefully we've enticed them, Park, if they're jogging and they're listening to us, or if they're commuting to work and listening to us. I hope that this is valuable enough for you to come back and really look at those examples and make them tangible for your world or whatever you're creating. So thank you so much for sharing that piece. We're almost out of time. I don't even want to use my questions because you're the genius here with this. So can you give maybe some examples of people using this, whether it's small business, or I'm also, as you were saying this, for myself, my show, when I do my show intro, I could totally get better. So that's cool. The other thing, even if I'm a career person working in a corporation and I want a promotion, or I want to share my idea that I think would help the department, this is a great way to organize that. So you go in, not only are you seen, right, but you're going to be heard, and it's going to have whoever in that orbit pausing to say, whoa, that was really good, right? And now we've just illustrated, why I should get promoted or whatever it is, but also why it's a good idea. And literally, I would think this takes a couple of minutes to do. What do you?
Oh, no, you've got to work on these. They at first you're going to write them. They're going to be long. They're going to be involved. They're going to be too general. They're going to have more than one narrative going on. You only want one narrative, one problem you're solving for at any one time. And it takes a while. You got to sit down and practice them. The best place to practice an ABT is in your emails, because you got to write the damn things anyway. So habits stack on it. Instead of writing these big, long-winded emails that you're trying to figure out what to say while you're writing it, stop, take a breath, and boil it down to an and, but, therefore. You're going to find your emails are way shorter and they actually get responded to. But you're right, Connie, you can use it anywhere. If you're on like Slack and Microsoft Teams or whatever, you're trying to do this intercommunication and, use an ABT for that sort of thing. If you are, going in to see your boss and your boss has only given you 5 minutes to make your case, you want to have that ABT well in hand. You're going to go in, you're going to hook them with that ABT, and then you're going to follow up with this little anecdotal story that shows your business premise in action. And that little anecdotal story uses the 5 primal elements of a short story, which is actually an expanded ABT. And that would be another episode that we could talk about. Right now, I want your people to leave with this. And here's the exercise to take. When you're going to write an ABT, sit down and first identify your audience. Specifically, who are you talking to? What do they want relative to what you're going to have to offer them? And why is that important to them? How is tomorrow going to be better for them if they get it? That's what I want you to do. Audience, what do they want relative to your offering? And why is that important to them? You're raising the stakes. But why don't they have it? What's standing in their way? And you like to throw some emotion in there. But why are they frustrated because this isn't happening? But why are they fearful because this isn't happening? What is it that they're missing out on? Therefore, imagine what solace you're going to have, the benefits you're going to have if you do this with us. That's what I want you to do, is just write those down and then practice with an email to someone that you're trying to get to do something. Share it with them from their point of view, what is it they want and why it's important for them to do it, because if they do what you're asking of them, then they will get what they want. So bringing this full circle to the top of the show, Connie, the ABT is speaking from your audience's point of view, what it is they want and why it's important to them, but why don't they have it? Therefore, here's how you are uniquely equipped to help them get it. You always play that secondary role in it. And yet it's such a powerful role because we all have mentors and guides in our lives to help us get what we want. That's what you are as a salesperson and or the brand.
And here's the thing, everybody listening, again, whether you're a business owner or corporate world, right, where they're a salesperson or a sales leader in this case, if we can hone this skill, and for me, it's a tangible, simple, it's a baby step, because the first time I'm hearing about ABT, people are saying, wait, this is more complicated than he's making it sound, but it's really not. So that's why I go back, pause the video so that you can see the transformation. But here's the bigger piece. We write email. How many emails have you written today? Like, we're always writing emails. So this, I don't care what platform, what job you have, what career, my kids send me emails, doesn't matter. Start to use this framework in those simple things with people. And I'm going to use the word don't matter. I mean, obviously, if my kids send me an email, I'm not judging it, right, from a professional standpoint. But if you could start practicing with those silly emails or with internal people within your organization that already know you, that's the best place. It's safe. So that's the best place to try this out, because nobody's going to judge. Nobody's even going to know you're trying this. Then when you get in front of your prospect and you've honed this skill, magic starts happening. So I love that idea of starting simple with an email, something we do every day, right? So there's a need, right? We're doing it. And then put this format in place and see, do you get better responses to your email? Do you actually get answers to your emails? Because that's another thing. No one reads our emails. Right. So do you see the action, right? Using the ABT model, what is the reaction in their world? So are they getting more clarity back from their emails? And just start to pay attention in the shift of the response you're getting using the ABT model. And like your friend that you showed with the tweet, 60,000, he had to do a screenshot to say, holy moly, look at this. Like, this stuff really works. That's what I challenge people to do. Not only try it, but really tune into what is that action? What is that reaction it's creating? I love this, man. You're like my new best friend. So, you're stuck with me, Park. Have you gotten that vibe?
I love it. And I'm glad we dressed the same today too.
We do. We match.
I rarely wear white, but my daughter gave me this for Christmas. And I'm like, I got to finally put this thing on. So here we are.
You look very handsome. And I try to wear lighter colors because of my dark background and my dark hair. So I try to wear lighter colors. So we match. We're brand new friends. I love the ABT. I am going to start using this for my intros. Because again, right, it's a good test for me and a good practice, but definitely on my emails. And then I'm going to get good at that. And then I'll translate it over to my LinkedIn articles and other things that I'm putting out there. So there's always that value added. I'm really going to play with this. It's simple and fun. I'm going to teach my kids too.
Well, here's the thing. Last week, I was in Phoenix teaching Master Electronics, which is a huge electronics component distributor. And I was working with 200 of their sales and marketing folks in their, annual kickoff, revenue kickoff.
Cool.
Shared them the ABT and the other frameworks we share. One guy, Christian, goes back, one of their national sales leaders, goes back up to Seattle after all this, teaches his daughter, Sienna, about the ABT, and even used my online course, took her through it. And then she used an ABT in a Girl Scout cookie video. And it is so adorable. I wish I had time to show it to you, but she gets up there. She knocks out this greatest ABT of why you should be buying cookies from her and what it means to everybody. And it's a great example of you can use this ABT anywhere. You're using narrative to hook that audience.
And it's the ripple effect, right? The more you and I can talk about this and show people, right, by even right, if they go, wow, Con, I really enjoy writing. Oh, ABT, go follow Park. Let me show you here. Go listen to the show, right? My first thing would be go listen to the show, get a vibe of who he is. Here's his links, which I'm going to give right now, and they will be in the show notes. But see, this is how we can impact and make a difference in the world by sharing our zones of genius. And the other thing I love that you did and that you are doing is, you see how you started with the ABT and then you said there's 5 more things. That's another show. But, so many times I think we love what we're doing and we're excited, which is great. But then we go, And we want to share so much that the person goes, hey, I'm never doing any of that. That's much too complicated for me. And they shut down instead of leaning in to be engaged, thinking, oh, this dude's onto something. I think I want to play with it. So I love this show. I hope everybody finds value. And I do want to share, here's the deal. Please. And I was on Park's website. I also did start the class, by the way, and I loved it. I found it very, very valuable. And you just added even more for me. But the website is businessofstory.com. I will put it in the show notes for you. And then email Park at businessofstory.com. Additionally, Park is lovely and generous with all of you. Go to businessofstory.com. Yep. He's pointing to the book on YouTube, guys.
The Narrative Gym for Business. This is the book that I co-wrote with my friend, Dr. Randy Olson. It's a quick 75-page guide to have by your side as you're writing ABTs to show you how to do it. It has a lot of great examples in it. And we have a free copy for you.
I love it. And I'm going to put that in the show note as well. I do highly recommend play with this, download the book and see the magic that you can make. And then Park, this would be great to bring him into your organization to talk to. We're talking sales. Obviously that's, our background. But you could do this in every department within an organization.
Sales, marketing. I just did a huge thing with Walmart Canada for 700 of their health and safety leaders, teaching them about how they can do a better job of communicating health and safety using the ABT. So yes, I work across the board, but mostly sales and marketing.
Okay, tell you, Park, simple works. And I think sometimes we come up with these complex models because it justifies you hiring me or you paying me whatever my salary is. And I think that simple works every time, because if I can understand it and then apply it, I'm actually going to do it, versus I understand it, but I don't even know where to begin. It's too complicated. And that's, we don't help people move the needle on whatever it is that they're working on. So thank you so much. This is brilliant. And I think it's adorable that the DNA that you did to the professor, who's the biologist, that was just really, really cute, where he was like, I should have had the V8, right? Awesome story. Yeah, awesome story. Thank you again, Park, for being on. And if truly, I really do want to hear the second part, because I love for people to try this. And then I'm all about, once you kind of get this, you get the vibe, what's the next piece that I can enhance what I'm already doing? So if you're game, I would certainly be game to have you on again. You're a great guest.
Well, no, would love to do that and take you to the next level. Just want to underscore too, that your listeners and viewers can do the course that you're taking right now called the ABTs of Agile Communications. And on that link, businessofstory.com/sale. What do we do? Game-sales?
Game-sales. Yep. Sales-game.
Sales-game is a special offer there, which 30% off that course. And it's where you download your free book there too. So Take it and let me know how it goes. And then send me your ABTs. I will give you some free email coaching when you take the course, and send me your ABTs. And it's the way you learn.
Yeah, it's the way. So got to do it to learn. It's all about the practice, right? Practice really does make perfect. Thank you so much. Very generous of you again for that. So thank you for being on. Thank you for all these beautiful gifts. Truly appreciate it. And more to come. Anybody listening, whether you're watching or listening, more to come. We'll do the second episode. We could dig in a little bit deeper and keep building that skill set, right? It's all about stacking those skills, but you have to start foundationally, getting it really good. And then we could add those little pieces. So more to come. Thank you again, Park. And thank you for my pleasure, truly my pleasure. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together, no matter where you are with your skill set in sales, client conversations, even your boss. I really do hope that my guests and I provide some tips and strategies, actionable tips and strategies that you can apply immediately after listening to the show. That's how the magic happens, guys. Listening is beautiful. Applying really is where it matters, and where you can start to make some mileage within your career and business, whatever it might be. Thank you for tuning into Changing the Sales Game with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.net. I hope you have an amazing week filled with inspiration, and use the ABT. Please report back to Park and I. We are interested, we're listening, and we really are curious. We want to see how this goes for you. So thanks again, and I'll see you all next week. Have a great one.
you.